So Simple tutorial. Good morning students. Welcome to SST So Simple tutorial. In the previous class we had read India and the Cold War, where we covered the meaning of Cold War, the two alliances involved in the Cold War, the arenas of the Cold War, and NAM and NIEO. Today we shall begin the second chapter, The End of Bipolarity, of your political science book, Contemporary World Politics. This chapter is the continuation of the last lesson. Let us first see the illustrations given in the first page. In the Cold War timeline, I had discussed in detail the partition of Germany, Berlin blockade, construction of Berlin Wall, fall of Berlin Wall, and finally unification of Germany. So I am sure you can identify the picture. Yes, this is Berlin Wall. Berlin Wall was a symbol. Symbol of what? The division between the capitalist and the communist world. The division of two ideologies. This 150-kilometer long wall was built at the Soviet initiative in 1961 to separate East Berlin from West Berlin. But the people were not happy with the erection of this wall. This was strongly resented by people living in both the sides. In the first picture, what do you see? People making a hole in the wall. Below it, you see that a section of wall is opened to allow free movement of the people. And the third one at the bottom is the Berlin Wall as it stood before 1989. Dear students, this wall was finally broken after 28 years by the people on 9th of November 1989. This incident led to the unification of Germany and the beginning of the end of Communist Bloc. Communist Bloc meaning the Eastern Bloc, which generally refers to the USSR plus the Eastern European countries. Look at these countries here: East Germany, Poland, Czechoslovakia, Hungary, Romania, Bulgaria, Albania, etc. People in these countries began protesting against their own government and Soviet control. As a result, one after another, these East European countries that were part of the Soviet bloc replaced their communist governments in response to the mass demonstrations. Later on, the Soviet Union also disintegrated. With this incident, bipolarity of the world also ended. Let us now understand the meaning of the term bipolar or bipolarity. Students, you will easily understand the term bipolarity if you visualize the two poles of a bar magnet. One end of the bar is North Pole and the other South Pole. And where do you find maximum force of attraction or repulsion? At the poles, isn't it? See, maximum iron filings stick at the ends, at the poles. Okay. Dear students, in international politics, polarity means the way in which power is distributed within the international system. As a student of political science, you will frequently come across the terms unipolarity, bipolarity, and multipolarity. So what is bipolarity? Bipolarity describes the distribution of power between two states which exercise majority of economic, military, and cultural influence internationally. For example, in the period of Cold War between 1945 to 1991, most Western and capitalist states came under the influence of the US, while most communist states came under the influence of USSR. So this was bipolarity, as the world had only two poles, the USA and the USSR, which had emerged as two superpowers after the Second World War. Both these poles were attracting countries towards their side and thus making alliances. But once the USSR dissolved, that was the end of bipolarity. Now the world was left with only one superpower, that is America. In other words, we can say that the world had become unipolar. So in this chapter we will discuss what was the Soviet system? What were the main problems with this system? Why did USSR disintegrate? What were the consequences of disintegration of the Soviet Union? We will also discuss what happened to that part of the world after the collapse of communist regimes and how India relates to these countries now. But since we are going to read about the Soviet system and the disintegration of the USSR from the next class, I want to give you a brief idea of the USSR here itself. The Soviet Union had its origin in the Bolshevik Revolution of 1917. Revolutionaries overthrew Tsar Nicholas II, thus ending century-old rule of the Romanovs. The Bolsheviks then established a socialist state under the leadership of Lenin. Where was this established? In the territory that was once the Russian Empire. Thereafter, in 1922, a treaty takes place between Russia, Belarus, Ukraine and Transcaucasia, and the result was the birth of USSR, the Union of Soviet Socialist Republic. Today, Ukraine and Russia are at war with each other, and just 100 years ago they had come together. Later on, other states also joined the Union, and by the final years of its existence, the USSR consisted of 15 SSRs. SSR means Soviet Socialist Republics. Let us know the names of other republics. The other republics are Ukrainian SSR, this is Ukraine now, Uzbek SSR, which is Uzbekistan today, Kazakh SSR, that is Kazakhstan today, Belarusian SSR, this is Belarus today, Azerbaijan SSR, which is still Azerbaijan, Georgian SSR, this is called Georgia, Moldovan SSR, this is Moldova today, Kyrgyz SSR, this is Kyrgyzstan, Lithuanian SSR, which is Lithuania today. This was the first republic to break away from the Soviet Union. Turkmen SSR, this is Turkmenistan today. Armenian SSR, this is Armenia. Latvian SSR, this is Latvia. Estonian SSR, this is Estonia today. And Tajik SSR, this is Tajikistan today. The Russian Soviet Federative Socialist Republic, that is Russian SFSR, is just one state of the USSR, the largest one and the most dominant among them. So when we say USSR, it is neither Russia nor Soviet Russia. USSR is a bigger unit. It is also called Soviet Union. After the disintegration of USSR, Russia had become the successor state to the USSR. All of the former republics of the Union are independent countries now. 10 of them, except the Baltic states, Georgia and Ukraine, they are loosely organized as CIS, the Commonwealth of Independent States. You at least get acquainted with these names. This was in brief about the structure of USSR. Let me stop here, students. You go through your book now. In the next class we will read what was the Soviet system. Till then, keep reading and have a nice time. Thank you.